Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's Fatmata here from Traditionally Inspired Meaningful Art. I have a jam-packed video for you today because we have not spoken in some time, and I want to kick things off with a big old thank you to everyone for your kind comments, your well wishes on my pregnancy from the Make 9 video where I shared that news with you all, as well as on my Frock Tales review video. That was the last video I think I posted. So lots has been happening in the background, but it was really a delight to sort of share some of those updates with you guys, and to just receive the warmth and the love in the comments has been amazing. I am behind on comments, as I'm always behind on comments, but particularly if you've been keeping up with the channel, you know that there are lots going on. I am, as I'm recording this, within the 1 month window from my due date. So for those of you on bump and baby watch, it's upon us. Okay. So, yeah, so there's a lot going on that's requiring my attention, in addition to work, family life, pre-wedding, for my best friends, like wedding prep things, and preparing for baby. So I'm getting into nesting mode and trying to do many things at once. Such is life. I'm feeling good, and that is what I'm most grateful for. But thank you all again. And you might be getting comments from me in like 3 months after the fact. Don't be, you just keep speaking to me. Speak that positive energy into my life, because I really do appreciate it, and look forward to getting back to you all when I get a chance to do that. As far as what I'm wearing, this is a self-drafted dress that I made back in 2020, and I love that it is still fitting. It has pockets. This is a cotton double gauze from Joann Fabrics with a black background and these amazing pops of color with this light blue, red, yellow, and purple. I made the piping myself. So I was really proud of that back in 2020 in the colors of the stripes, and sort of made them go down and up the dress. As you can see, I played with the stripe placement, and that was a joy. It is bump friendly, so we are having a good time rocking this right now. It's of course sitting up a little bit higher off the floor because it is so bump friendly. But yeah, I'm enjoying wearing this. It is not nursing friendly, so I don't think I'll be wearing this much throughout the summer months that are up ahead. It has that black base anyway, so it's probably not something that I would necessarily rush to wear in the summer, but the double gauze is just so breathable and light. So something in this sort of fabric that is nursing friendly might be cool to think about. I have so much that I'm going to share with you. Let's begin with new acquisitions and new things just in the sewing room. So I'll talk purchases or things that have come in. At Frock Tales, there were a number of in the moment sort of prizes that guests could recommend other guests for. So I won one of the superlatives, which was fan favorite, and with that came a few gifts. I had shared in my last video my gorgeous fabric haul. So I won some money to Gorgeous Fabric and purchased some fabrics from there. But I also won a gift certificate to LDH Scissors, and I was able to pick up these two beauties. So my gift card for LDH was $50, and LDH is a very high quality shears brand, and they make exquisite scissors. I've heard about them. I've seen them from other vloggers and things like that. So I was ecstatic when I was going to be able to pick out some of my own. LDH scissors are not inexpensive, and I remember, as I've seen other vloggers sort of talk about either partnerships or just purchasing LDH scissors for themselves because of the high quality. When I got to the website, one of the places that I immediately went to was the seconds sale section. So this is sort of like some of their products that have a cosmetic blemish, but otherwise were fine. And it's sort of like if you get an appliance and you get like a refurbished model, or, you know, something that has a cosmetic like nick in it, so it couldn't go to the main, you know, store front and different things like that, but everything else is fine. I'm one of those people who would prefer that item. Like, give that to me, especially if it's gonna still come with the warranty. Like, I do not mind. Anyways, it came with this lovely thank you card and some information about the organization as well as the warranty and all of those things. What I knew I wanted was a pair of snips. So I got this really great one-piece snip. They do have different styles of snips, but I like this one. It is quite substantial. It comes pre-greased. Very, very nice. And then I got myself the Midnight Black shears with the rubber handle. It's so beautifully packaged. And I got a little sticker as well for my LDH. So I think I picked well, and I was able to get these both within the $50. I think I ended up going over by a couple of bucks because of shipping. But again, being able to use the second sale to really reduce the cost on some of these made it really worthwhile, because otherwise I think the shears would have definitely exceeded on their own the $50 gift card. So that was the first one, and I am very, very grateful to everyone at Frocktails who voted me for this, but also for the organizers and for LDH for making just some lovely products. I've already started using the snips. I have not yet used the shears. I wanted them in my stash, especially for like when I start working with wools or some heavier weight fabrics, but otherwise I am typically a rotary cutter girl. Yeah. Then I want to talk about some of the simplicity patterns that I've picked up last week during the simplicity pattern sale. I've already put them away in my stash, folks, so I'm going to pop in an image of the pattern, but I'll talk you through. First and foremost, of their new collection, the only one that really caught my eye and made me say I am definitely going to pick that up was Simplicity 9886. 9886. So that is the actual number. I did get the display item, but that is the actual number. It's the 3 color blocked situation that you can do with like these amazing swoops going down. It is for woven fabrics, and it does have bust darts. It feels like it's a higher bust line as well. This is going to be amazing. I love that they had a full length version. That is something that I often struggle with. I want my garments to be maxi length, and a lot of the patterns are either midi is the longest that they go, and then I'm left to sort of, you know, grade it down or extend it myself. So I was very happy about that. I just love the fit and flow of it, and the fact that it is woven fabric friendly. So then from there, I picked up Simplicity 8637, and this is an American Sewing Guild wrap dress that I got in a panic when I was trying to figure out what am I about to make for my bridesmaid's dress for my best friend's wedding. Otherwise, I would not have picked up this pattern. So I don't know that I need it. I also like it because it has a longer length and it has the flounce already built into it. So I do think I might keep it in the stash for those design features. The other woven wrap dress that I've made 2 years ago, that was a part of my 2022 sort of make 9, has princess seams in the bodice, while this one has 2 darts. It has a dart from the bust and a dart from the waist. So that might give me some different shaping options there. So I might keep it in the stash. It does have a long sleeve and a longer length option. Then I picked up S8992, which is a pattern hacking, pattern of theirs. And this is a knit button front dress or cardigan. I like that versatility, and it feels like it's substantial. I like how much it crosses over and then it flares out at the ends, which is a shape that I really like. So whether I make it to be a cardigan or make it with the buttons down the front as a knit dress, I like that option. They stop at just below knee length, but that's something that I could, again, extend myself. I'm looking down because I'm looking in my Trello where I've sort of cataloged all of these already. And then I picked up New Look N6749, which is basically the McCall's S974 sort of replacement or dupe. It's very interesting when the new look patterns are now starting to replicate some of the Simplicity or McCall's, you know, etc. patterns, but it's basically the same. It just doesn't have the 2-layer like puff sleeve option or the longer length skirt. But the M7974 is a pattern that I really like, and I wanted to have another copy-ish of it available to me because the bodice that I've cut out I might be outgrowing. So in order to give myself just another chance at having that bodice, I picked that up. Now, patterns that I have out that I can show you, I also picked up some Nomi and McCall's patterns, and I want to begin with this Beauty J'adore pattern. This is ME2046. So this is this lovely tunic and or dress, as well as these woven pants. I like the shape of the pants as well. You don't get a really good look at them from this pattern, but in the design lines you can kind of see that it sort of nips in at the knees and then sort of flares out. So I think the shaping is really beautiful on there, and I love that tunic as well as the shape of the dress. It might not replace some of my tried and trues, my current M8064 fit and flow dress, but it's nice to have another option, so I'd pick that up. Oh, I'm just noticing they had the Simplicity sale first and I picked up the new look pattern, but turns out I love this pattern so much I did pick up the M7974 replacement. I didn't need to pick up both, y'all. I did not need that. So maybe I'll gift the new look pattern to someone else. Anyways, I also have McCall's M7565, and I think button front shirt dresses are going to be my jam all summer long, with baby in tow. I like the tent style nature of this and the fact that you have that belt to cinch it in, but it won't be touching your body. It's going to be really nice, particularly that view D down there at the bottom. So having that and adding the sleeves to it, I think is going to look really great. Design lines for the back, you have some gathering, again, to give you a bit of ease in the shape and wearing of this. And of course, it has pockets. And then I picked up McCall's 6124. And I picked this up because I really like the length of this button front shirt. I like that it is fitted, it has princess seams, and these tunic lengths are ones that maybe I wouldn't have gravitated towards initially, but I realized that I have a thrifted crisp white button-up shirt that is from Chico's, I believe, that has princess seams in it, and it's a longer length, like mid-thigh, and I layer it with different things on top, and I absolutely love it. But because it is a crisp white shirt that's been thrifted, I you know, it could yellow over time. It could just, I might need to be able to replace it, and I think that this would be a good bet for me. It's a very classic shirt. Again, the fit of it is very nice, and I like that it offers those various lengths. Another thing that I purchased, and this is to go along with the bridal collection, a piece that I was hoping, or am hoping, to make for my best friend, which is going to be like a fun and playful, like feathered top of some sort. And because you know that I'm obsessed with feathers. If you've been on this channel, I had last year in a like Notions haul purchased a ton of ostrich feathers. This is a navy colorway. You're not going to see it that well. I'll show them to you here. I had already started making little plumes with them, just piecing them together so I could get these like individual strands that I would then attach to a bodice. You know, the things that you do when you have time on your hands, obviously. So that was an idea that was still fresh on my mind. And while I haven't executed my full look yet, I did think for a bridal, you know, garment. And we're talking like pre-wedding events, like maybe to a bachelorette thing or one of the bridal showers, or, you know, something like that she could wear. I went ahead and I wanted to pick up some like ivory champagne colored feathers. I just want to show you the difference here and why I'm so frustrated by what I received. So I went ahead and ordered, not from the same vendor, because they had a 5-yard strip of ostrich feathers, this champagne color, and look at how it came packaged. Just dumped in the bag. Not on a card or anything. And maybe I wouldn't have had like high hopes or any, maybe I wouldn't have had like any expectations had I not previously already ordered ostrich feathers from another vendor. But this sort of packaging on a little card, right? Nicely wrapped around there in a plastic bag that would hold the feathers upright without them being damaged makes sense to me. This crumble dumped into a plastic bag on its own, just 5 yards of it, was not what I was expecting, and I'm not pleased that that's how it came. Also, the length of the feathers, right? So this purchase, I think it was supposed to be 4 to 6 inches. I'll have to go back and reread the description of it. But they sell you these things of it's going to be so full and luscious. And I just want you to see like how long these are compared to the length of this. Do you see that? No, this is scant. So what I might have to do is go back to my Amazon, history, see where I purchased the navy ones from and see if they have a champagne color and just reorder it and just get 2. The navy one came in 2-yard like bundles. So I'll just get 2 of them. I think 4 yards should be enough for just the bodice of something. And I'm going to return this. I received this a couple of weeks ago. I've just been waiting to do an updated video so I could show you with my disappointment before I send this back. But I'm going to go ahead and pop it in the bag the same way they sent it to me and return that to sender. Let's talk about some makes on a high note. We have here my very own ME2065 dress made out of this gorgeous watercolor mesh fabric. I'm so excited about it. And what's even more exciting is that I didn't have to make it myself. So my best friend actually made this dress for me, and I'm ecstatic. If it looks familiar, it's because it is the same dress that she wore to Frocktails. And fun fact, this was actually her first attempt at making that dress for Frocktails for herself. And we already knew that she needed to extend and lengthen the pattern, but it just didn't, she hadn't extended it enough. So when she tried it on, it was kind of lackluster. It was like at the ankle length and we were like, meh, didn't know how we felt about it. So I was like, well, let me just try that on and give it a whirl. So when I did, it fit me perfectly. And at the time when we had gone to G Street Fabric and picked up this fabric from the dead stock section, we had bought enough, like we bought what we could find there, so there was enough for her to make a secondary dress. So I was like, well then, can I just have this one? So she finished it for me and I'm so excited. It has the lettuce hem on the sleeve cuff as well as the bottom of the hem, and she used just the same fabric to do the binding here at the neckline. It's my favorite sort of fit and flow shape. I would wear this with a dress underneath it for me, of course, and I'm so excited to get to wear it. It is bump friendly, so I will be wearing this a couple of times, hopefully before baby, because it is not nursing friendly. I probably will have to put it away for, the summer months and stuff. But I do plan to use this pattern, ME2064, to try and hack a nursing friendly dress option for me to wear in the summer, because they do have a V-neck in that pattern. So I'm assuming I can sort of use one of the scoop necks and V-neck or like low scoop options to put some things together and make it work. So I'm very excited, but that's the first finished object and I'm so excited that she made that for me. All right, let's keep things on a high note. So I'll turn to this side and I'm going to bring you the finished Estella dress from Viki Sews. This is one of the pieces from the bridal collection that we're working on for my best friend, and our hope is to make something that has a lot of structure, great body to it. The sunshine right now is blowing this out, but it is a gorgeous ivory color. It is a silk fabric. I'm gonna say it feels like a silk Mikado, and I'm saying that only because I felt a polyester Mikado before. I hope I'm saying that word right, but it has this like ridging in the fabric that makes it just stand out so much. And the pleats are going to be really pronounced, which is what we wanted. The only thing I have left to do is to hand sew the hem, but the fabric behaved lovely. The lining that I use for it is like a dead-on match. I had this in my stash already, and it's a beautiful, what I believe to be either a tensile twill. It's a very lightweight fabric, or like a rayon twill of some sort. Just to give you some close-ups, so this is the lining fabric, like a little remnant piece of it, and as you can see, it's just so drapey, and this has been starched, this piece right here, so it's even drapier than this, but it's so breathable, and just, it's so wonderful. This is the outer fabric, just to show you that as well. So a gorgeous silk that we picked up from the Fabric Place basement when we went with Tashana, and it's awesome. So again, I don't know if it'll show you, but it has like lines that kind of go across. So when you make a pleat maybe in the direction of the lines, has such great structure to this fabric, by the way, but if you make a pleat in the direction of the lines, like currently the lines are going vertically on this fabric, and if you make a pleat, it's like, okay, that's nice. It would hold its structure, but it's, you know, it's okay. If you go in the opposing direction and do that same thing, like right now, the ridges are going horizontally on the fabric, and you can see even the resistance on this thing. So if you were to pin it, it has so much bounce, and like you see, it's resisting that a little bit. So we did do the skirt and the bodice with the ridges going horizontally so that we would have that sort of push out where it would just like puff up on itself. So do you see how that's creating such a really intense sort of box pleat situation? I hope you can see it. I know the sun is sort of blowing things out, but yeah. Now, when we were trying to sew it, we did press it quite a bit. So I do think that where they have these luscious box pleats, it's not poofing out at the same, you know, dramatic effect as it would had we probably only pressed within the seam allowance. I think we shouldn't have gone as far into the fabric as we did in our attempts to just, you know, make the sewing process a bit easier. So I'm hopeful that after taking it to the dry cleaner, it sort of revives it and brings back a bit of that bounce, or we can sort of like undo the dramatic ironing that we did in that particular section, just so it gives the drama that she wants of that full skirt. But that is the Viki Sews Estella dress. I will link to videos below where I've talked about sort of our fitting process of this over time. I think we were up to about 3 toiles before I went ahead and made the final version. I know we at least had 2 toiles for sure. And it's a mix of sizes between the 44 for the front pattern pieces and then a 48 for the back. We then had to lengthen but sort of scoop up the bodice pieces. We talked about it in a previous video. I'll link it below if you're interested in seeing the chronicles of that dress. Next up, as far as a finished, it's finished to me. Like I'm done with it at least. The next thing that I wanted to show you is ME2065. This backless blazer by Erica Bunker. Another one that is on my Make 9 list. So it's the backless blazer. You see there's lots of pinning happening, and I'll talk to you about why that is. I'm going to just state that this is, I'm not pleased with this make. I struggled so much where do I want to begin with talking about this? Overall, my experience in sewing this, I took it on as a slow sew project, which I'm very pleased that I did. I think following the Viki Sews Estella Dress, where that was a very slow sew process, we did a couple of toiles. I was working with silk, so I was very intentional and mindful and sort of took my time with that. And I applied that same sort of energy and understanding to this blazer pattern. I've never made a blazer before, so I knew it would be a new experience. The fabric that I'm working with, while it is lovely, it is slippery. Thankfully, many of the pieces on here required it being interfaced, so it did give it the structure that made it easier to work with. I don't even know where to start. First of all, none of the Joann stores in my area, even within a 30-mile radius, y'all, because we've been on the hunt, offered this pattern yet. So this Nomi Erica Bunker backless blazer and pants pattern is from the newest drop of Nomi patterns, and they just have not made their way into the stores in my area yet for whatever reason. So even though there have to date been two, McCall's and Nomi pattern sales, I have not been able to get my hands on them. Because I wanted to get a head start on this anyways, I had already gone ahead and purchased the PDF pattern when those were on sale on the Simplicity website. My best friend was a trooper. She went ahead and pieced all of these pieces together. Why we didn't just go and have it printed, don't ask. I'm sorry. I put her through that, but she did. She pieced everything together, and we went ahead and looked at the finished garment measurements and, tried to do all the things. Here's where we went wrong from the start. In the pattern, and here it is, the Nomi 2065. For the finished garment measurements for view A, they only give one measurement, and that is the waist. They only give you, for a blazer, which will have to fit you at the bust, at the waist, and around your hips, they gave you one finished garment measurement, which was the waist. That was alarming to me at the time. Like, I remember being like, that's interesting. I would have loved to know what's happening in this situation. I want to know, is it going to fit over your hips? Like, do I need to grade out? What's the situation? Now, I do believe because it is backless, being able to have a circumference around the full bust might be a challenge. Maybe that's why they were unable to give us a bust finished garment measurement. Sure. What that's got to do with the hips, I don't know. It is a single-breasted, I guess that's what you call a blazer, where it just has one button. So it does sort of separate in the front, as you can see by how she's wearing it. It sort of opens up just a bit here in the front. So again, is that why we couldn't get a hip finished garment measurement? Because it doesn't necessarily enclose around the whole hip? Again, I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, what that led us to do was, with the singular measurement at the waist, we went with her waist measurement to say, okay, my best friend's waist, I think she's about a 35. So we were in between the size 16, which the finished garment waist measurement is a 34, and the size 18, which the finished garment waist measurement was a 36. I felt like 1 inch of wearing ease at the waist for something that's its only closure point would be good, because what I would hate to have happen to her is that it is pulling and fighting to stay on, right? Since that is the one access point, where it attaches together. So I felt like 1 inch of wearing ease all the way around your body isn't that bad, right? And if I really needed to take that in, that would just be maybe 1/4 of an inch here, 1/4 of an inch at this seam, and we could easily make up for that 1 inch of ease if we wanted to bring it in a little bit. So that led us to cut out the size 18. When I was looking at the finished garment measurement for the sleeve on the pattern piece, I was like, this is huge. It feels really big. Do you need that much space? Again, when you look at the photos of Erica Bunker in this, it's a fitted blazer. So I was like, that's strange. So I already felt like, okay, maybe I need a size 16 at the sleeve. I was thinking many things. Needless to say, the bodice of this is a size 18. I don't want to make this like a rant where I'm bashing this whole thing. So I'm going to try and just be as objective as possible. I think the design of this blazer is gorgeous. Like, that's why a lot of people have been flocking to it. It was also the Sew Your View pattern of February. Sew Your View is a challenge that takes place over on Instagram. I don't really frequent Instagram, but I remember hearing about it through someone's YouTube channel. And I use Instagram right now the same way that you would like Google, as a search engine. So I just go in if I need to search something and I look for the tags. I remember viewing this throughout the month of February because that's when I began making this. And I was like, surely someone is going to post it, or many people are going to post it. That's the point of Sew Your View. I want to see it on different bodies. I want some feedback on like fit and different things like that. Crickets. I finally saw one person. This is like, well, I think within like halfway through February. D, I believe is her name. I'll try and insert information down below. But this was also someone who I met during DC Frocktails. Hello, she wore this dynamic, like full-on denim look. Beautiful. Anyways, she made the blazer in a nice dark charcoal color, but in the description had like there were no details about fit or, you know, anything like that to give me an idea of what size did you cut, what, you know. I will also say I didn't reach out and ask. Again, I'm not on Instagram much. Maybe I should have. But it looked great on her. She did add a back panel so that it made it bra friendly. And I was like, okay, interesting. Again, Sew Your View for the whole month of February. Just saw that one post. Then finally, I think a couple of days ago, I saw another post of this gorgeous Ankara version that had like these mixed patch print. It's beautiful, but it was not shown on a body. It was just on a mannequin, which I was like, huh. Okay. And also no details about like fit, size, whatever. Then I think last night, so we're into March now, like March 1st or so. My best friend is like, oh, they've extended the deadline for the Sew Your View for February because, you know, it might take folks a little bit longer. And I'm thinking it's because there have been like very minimal posts on this. So I saw one other person who made a beautiful red version with some lace detailing to sort of cover up the open back situation. Again, I didn't see any feedback on fit, whatever. The issue that I'm having I'm an experienced sewist. Like, I've been sewing things. I haven't made a blazer, but I've made garments before. What really I think bothered me about my experience in this was that trying to follow along the written instructions, which you all will be like, we know, Big Four, their instructions are terrible. There are many people who feel that way. I sew with primarily Big Four patterns, and maybe it's the fact that like it's not my first rodeo. Sometimes I do just naturally fill in the blanks. I noticed that a lot when I was supporting my best friend and making garments for herself and her fiance over like the Christmas time period. I remember I was like, oh, you should definitely interface that, or like you should stay stitch that, or we should pre-press here, or, you know, I would just give tips of things that weren't in the instructions, but I'm like, this is going to help you in the future, or it just makes sense to do it this way, or let's not do it in that order. Like, I could see that I have the foresight at times to just like do things a way that I think might end in a better result or give you a more streamlined sewing experience. Because I had never made a blazer, I was relying on these instructions. I had some moments of intuition where I was like, I feel like I should be grading down the seam, or I should press here, shouldn't I? Or I should I should do some other things that are not being told to me to do. By either it's not being said to me to do it in the written instructions, or Erica in the video instructions has not stated it. Nomi patterns do come with a video tutorial, which I was very excited about. I was like, this is great, because the instructions, like the written instructions, will have you do like 5 different steps in a single instruction. Like instruction 10 might tell you to like clip a corner, flip the notch over, sew on the lapel, gather the easing stitches, put it together, trim, clip, and all as one singular step. I was like, sir, ma'am, you have told me 15 things to do in one step. It's too much. So there are moments where you're just like, just walk me through this, give me a visual. So I pop on the video, and the thing that hurt me was, in the video, it's being done in a different method with different construction techniques, in a different order at times than the written instructions. I have watched videos, and Mimi G has done this in her videos, right? And I have watched videos, or other Know Me pattern designers, etc. Like, other video tutorials have done this, where the written instructions that the Big Four company has created, I don't know if they're involved in the creation of these instructions, I'm not really sure how it works, where they will tell you, like, I know that the instructions say to do this, I'm going to show you a different way, or here's a tip on another way to do it that differs from the written instructions. I just need that. I need that to be stated, right? Because what was happening to me was, I was following along with the written instructions to the best of my ability, and if I got stuck, I would say, okay, I'll just flip over and watch the video tutorial, because surely you're just going to give me a visual of what that instruction said. But because they were like, she's showing us a different order of operation, or like a different construction technique, it was not the same. I could not flip back and forth as easily between the written instructions to the video and still be on track. I've recorded like my reactions to parts of the making of this. So again, I think we will persevere. My best friend is going to get the size 14 is what we've decided is what I think we need instead. She's going to get it printed out. We're not going to stick it together. She's going to get it printed out, and we will try this again. So I'm hopeful that I can sort of articulate a lot of my frustrations a little bit better in the future when it's not as raw, and maybe when I have a finished garment that worked out well. But right now, I will just say to anyone who's attempting this, I, again, think the design is beautiful. I'm not bashing the design. Like, this is not, I'm hurt because I wish it just would have been stated. The biggest frustration that I have, let me just state this. Order of operation wise, one of the last things that the written instructions and the video instructions have you do is to put on the sleeves. As you can see, this is still sleeveless, right? But it has been attached to the bottom. So I have no other access points but the sleeve opening itself. So what they would have you do is, from the wrong side of the fabric, to go ahead and attach the right side, like the fashion fabric sleeve. So you would attach that. And then you are going to iron the sleeve lining along the stitch line, and use the easing stitches to pin that in place to the lining. After you've added your, if you're gonna choose to put in shoulder pads, etc., you've already put the fashion fabric of the sleeve, you've already put that together. They're going to then ask you to hand stitch the lining to the arm side. And that to me is bonkers. Like, I have hand stitched, like, I'm not, maybe it's because I'm nervous about hand stitching. I will raise my hand every time to say that. But the idea of hand stitching a sleeve lining that has ease stitches in it, that is a curved arm side, does not feel good to me. And I feel like I was looking at it and I was like, would there have been a way before we attached the top of this blazer to the bottom of the blazer to have inserted the sleeve where I would have an entry point from the bottom of the blazer here, where I could have used the machine to stitch both sides of the sleeve, flip it out before I attach it to the bottom, and close up that entry point? Like, would that not have been, is that not possible? And I'm still thinking about it before I make the next version. Like, could I do that myself? Like, would that order of operation work? Or did they not show me that way because maybe actually when you try and turn it out, that wouldn't work, Fatmata? I don't know. But that is not how I would want to finish my sleeves. I will just say that. Secondly, In the written instructions, you are finishing the bottom hem of this blazer at like instructions, let's say 36 through 39 or so, right? Like 36 through, let's say 40s or something like that. So these are the instructions. We're in the 30s to about 40 or something, where they're teaching you how to finish off the very bottom of this blazer, right? So you would have done the back vent. Sorry. So you would have done the back vent right here. Beautiful, right? For the back vent, if you are working on this pattern, I prefer Erica's instructions in the video of how to finish the back vent, because you then do not end up with any top stitching on the back. But the written instructions have you construct it in a way where you finish off like the different parts of the vent individually, and then you top stitch this bottom piece. You just stitch it down and you'll have a visible top stitch. She does it in a different way, where you kind of go from the inside of the fabric between the lining and the fashion fabric, and you turn it out, you like make a stitch on the inside, and then it leaves you with this beautifully finished, I know the light is going to blow it out, but this beautifully finished vent that just lays gorgeous and no visible top stitching. Because I'm using a silky fabric, I absolutely wanted that. But again, this is where trying to use the written instructions and then using her video as support kicked me in the butt, because I was following the written instructions and had made the, finished off the vents in 2 separate pieces, as I was told to do by the instructions. And then it was telling me to top stitch, and I was like, oh, but I've watched Erica's video like 4 times at this point. Like I would just watch it while I was like eating breakfast or like had downtime, just to get the, the method of operation. And I was like, I don't think she top stitches it. Like I remember her pulling it through from the back. Sure enough, went to her video. There's not a mention that like I'm doing this differently than the instructions, but it's a completely different order of operations, where I had to then go back inside the layers to unpick everything that I had just done. I had like graded my seams already, so I was fiddling with everything to do it over. That didn't feel good to me. Like I was very upset that it's just, I didn't like that. Also, the final thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to try and shut up, because again, I hope to have a video where this did work out and I do have a completely finished blazer to show you all, and we could talk a bit more positively, I hope. But I think it does need to be said in the video, when you have like a minute left of the tutorial, I was starting to get nervous. I was like, okay, we had done like, she'd shown how to do the back vent, but it was still like open, right? Like this is still not done. You might be able to see here. And then we had jumped back up to put in the sleeve, right? Then she's constructing the sleeve. She's put in the sleeve. The final instruction that is given is press under the, to the stitch line of the sleeve lining, gather the E-stitching, and pin in place. And the very next clip is a finished blazer on a mannequin saying, and press your lovely blazer. Thank you for watching. I was standing there and I was like, hold on. You just said pin it in place. Am I walking around with pins in my thing? Like, yes, it's intuitive. Obviously, I'm stitching that, but stitch it how? Like, tell me that I'm hand stitching this. Because if I was relying on that video and not reading the pattern pieces, if I was just watching the video to sew this blazer and you left me at pin in place the lining and didn't even give me the instruction of like, how am I stitching this together? As a novice or as an intermediate, I'd be upset. I am upset. This is why I'm upset. That's where it stops. Like, that was the last instruction. I was like, hold on, but how am I stitching? Like, show me you hand stitching this. So, like, I have a visual of, like, give me a tip on how to hand stitch this. Because Again, it's a fiddly part to hand stitch. It's not a straight seam. It is a curved arm side that also has easing stitches in it. Show me you doing that, please. Like, that's why I came to this video. It doesn't. It sort of leaves you there. So then I'm like, okay, let me run back to the written instructions, which the written instructions do say, you know, you have to hand stitch that in place. And so did you understand what I said? So the bottom is still not finished. And there were no instructions in the video of how to finish the bottom hem of this blazer. I'm laughing to keep from crying because I still don't know how, even the next time around that I make it, like, what order of operations am I going to pick? Because, like I said, the written instructions had you close off the bottom hem steps ago, like in the late 30 to 40s steps of the written instructions. So you would have closed that off before you attach the top of the blazer to the bottom of the blazer. So at that point, you're like closing off some access points. You know what I mean? So the bottom would have already been done. That is not what she tells you to do in the video. You sort of pivot from working on the bottom, and you can see it in the video. It's raw. Like the ends are not attached. And then she just pops up to the top to do the sleeves. But then after telling you to put the lining of the sleeve and pin it in place, it just jumps to the blazer is complete. And there's no mention of how you are now closing off the bottom. But it's not fair to do that in the video because, again, like I said, you no longer have the same access point to the bottom hem to just say, oh, I'll just go back to the written instructions and just follow what they did, because you're beyond that step. Like, you've already attached the top to the bottom, so you can't enter. You can't enter that anymore to do it in the way of the written instructions. So you actually need the video to tell you, since you did the order of operations differently than the written instructions, how am I, who has followed you to this point, supposed to do that? I'm frustrated. There are also moments where, like, there are in the interfacing layout that they give you in the pattern. So in the interfacing layout that you see here, as you can see, most of the upper blazer pieces are interfaced. All of that is. And so is the front lower piece of the blazer. That's this piece right here. They do tell you that for the sleeves, you should interface these corners where you're going to be sewing the buttons and things like that. But what's not listed here in the interfacing sort of layout is the back pattern piece for the lower back blazer pieces near the vent. So it wouldn't be the whole piece as you see here, but similar to how they sort of demonstrated for the sleeves, that you just need to interface these little corners where there's going to be strain. In the video, you can visually see that Erica Bunker has put interfacing in the back vent pieces, just the sections that like extend on the main fashion fabric. She had interfaced the lower bottom hem here where she's going to hem it up, as well as these extension pieces right here of the back vent. I know the color is blown out because it's bright, but this section here in her video is interfaced. You visually see it, but again, there's never like guidance to say, a tip that I have for you is to interface the vent section and the bottom hem to allow that to be crisp or to give you more structure and stability there, because it's a point of tension. It's the back vent. And it's not in the interfacing layout. So unless you had watched the video, you wouldn't have even known to interface that section. I think I did a beautiful job in the sewing. Like, when I tell you I took my time with this, this is hours and hours and hours of labor. I am going to take some footage and some videos that I can pop up to really show you like the attention to detail. I marked every freaking dot more than once because I was using like a disappearing ink, and then I'd come back and I'm like, no, I want to make sure it's as precise. This collar I'm so proud of. Like the fact that I worked with the silky fabric and the finishes look the way that they do. My pockets. I'm so proud of the work that I put into this, and I'm equally so frustrated by the instructions on this. Like, and for it to have had like a sew along and me to be frustrated with the sew along, it is disappointing. And again, this is no like shade to the design. Like, the design is gorgeous. I just think that there were some missed opportunities, and I am someone I'm not the freshest bird to start sewing. You know what I mean? So I'm just thinking of someone who has a bit less experience than me and couldn't read in between the lines of either the written instructions and also is not getting full details from the visual. It's upsetting. Like, this was so many hours after work, you know, weekends, and sizing is what bit us in the butt. At the end of the day, like, really why this is not good is because of sizing. It's way too big. My Deneen came over yesterday to try it on. It's big. So it's not going to work. We're going to try and see if there are bits of it that we can salvage. But the entire bodice for sure has to be redone. Like, it does not fit. And you know, the thing is, it's hard to try on unless you attach the bottom to it because it is backless. I remember when I had finished doing the top portion and had lined it and everything, I like wore it as like a little vest, but because there's no back to hold it, it's just like, I was like, this feels really big, but I was like, maybe I just need to put the, you know, the bottom to it to actually test it out because there's nothing to hold it. Again, like, let's look at the lapel detail. Let's look at that lining. Let's look at that collar. Let's look at it, people, because I'm proud. I just want y'all to know I'm proud of what I did. Look at this back vent situation. I didn't do it alone, of course, but I'm saying it looks good, folks. It looks good. I'm very proud of this. Look at that. Look at that pocket. Look at this. Look at these things, okay? I worked hard on this. I'm gonna put this on for you. And this is what we're working with, okay? So I'm gonna raise it so that this sits somewhere decent. I've tasted disappointment before. I know what it feels like to make a garment and it just goes down the drain. I just have very little time left, and the amount of time that I've devoted to making this and to executing it to the best of my ability, and to have this be the result and this be the outcome for the reasons that this is the outcome, I'm pretty upset about. I'm not gonna lie. And I know that I teetered between making a toile and not making a toile. Many of you are screaming like, that's why you make a toile. I understand. I even said in the Make 9 video, like, this is something I absolutely need to make a toile of. And then the very next video was like, oh, I'm looking at the timeline. I'm looking at how many more weekends I have left. Like, my fatigue is starting to set in as I'm ending my, you know, nearing the end of my pregnancy, all of these things. And, you know, I was like, use the finished garment measurements, use what you know, do the best you can, like, execute it. Hopefully this will work. It didn't. This is why we don't skip the toile on something so new, right? Like the backless option, like, I knew why I wanted a toile, because I wanted to make sure the shoulders would fit her, but also the bust, the fact that it's backless, like, what's that going to do to the construction? I knew that I needed it. I was like, I remember calling, even after I said in the like review of Frocktails video that I was going to skip the toile. I remember calling her back like, no, like, maybe I can find a way to just cut the necessary pieces and I'll make a quick and dirty toile, and, you know, we'll do that. And then I went against my gut, and that's where I failed, because I knew this needed a toile and I should have just done it, because whatever time I thought I was saving, I'm now going to have to redo this whole thing, and I'm very upset about that. So anyways, that's sort of where we are. As I mentioned, I am going to give it a think. Like, it's going to take a minute before the printed pattern arrives and we have a chance to like cut into that. And, you know, I just have a bit of time to look at what I have here that can be salvaged. The reality is there are many pieces that just cannot, because even though we're going down some sizes, the shapes of pattern pieces aren't always nested in a way that, oh, I'll just take a bigger piece and make it smaller. There are significant shape differences that might go out. I'm not going to explain this right, but if you've cut out pattern pieces before, I hope you understand what I mean. That just because you're going down a size does not mean that the entire shape of the smaller size fits within the larger size pattern piece. Sometimes it has to grade out, particularly for a back piece that curves like this. But there are some pieces maybe in like the bottom of the blazer where I've already done the hard work of making that vent, or, you know, putting the welt pockets on. Like, could I salvage some of these? My issue is because of the type of fabric I'm using, I don't know how well the fabric will heal after I unpick the darts. But if I can unpick them and get the, you know, through pressing and some steam, get the fabric to sort of relax and the fibers to go back without it being too obvious that there was previous stitching here. If I could reuse some of those pieces and just cut them out at the smaller size, that would be amazing, and just move the darts over where they need to be moved. That would be ideal, so that I don't have to repeat those more fiddly steps that take quite a bit of time. So we'll look into that. But otherwise, if you are making the ME2065, this is not intended to be discouragement for you to do it. Please pursue it, because I want to see more makes of it. And I would love for just people in their captions. This is not me regulating how someone else does their Instagram, because that's part of the reason why I'm no longer even posting there. But if someone felt so inclined to talk about their experience with sizing, with fit, with alterations that they had to make, with were they able to follow along to the written instructions, and was that okay for them? Kudos if they could. And did they have any issues with the video tutorial? Because again, I haven't heard anything about that, and I wish I would have just known that, like, oh, just go into the video knowing that it is going to be different than the written instructions. So you might want to just pay attention to the video and or do the written instructions. But even that is not advice that I would give, because there are points in the written instructions where it's telling you to clip your curves, trim the seams, press, do different things that is not verbally being told to you to do in the video. And then there are techniques and tips that lead to a cleaner finish, like the way that Erica does the back vent, which I would prefer, and I would not have known about had I not watched the video. That is not the way that it's done in the written instructions. However, you would have to pick which one of those you're doing, because you can't follow along in the written instructions to a point and then flop to the video and then be able to be successful in the way that she's making it. Also, if the only thing you're using is the video, you might be upset when you get to the end and you are not informed about how to close off the back of your blazer. And then run into a situation like this. And the written instructions don't really help you, because in their instructions, you would have already closed that before attaching these two parts together. So you no longer have access to an opening where you would pull that through. I hope to be back with a video where I have more positive things to say about this blazer and what I've learned in a more succinct and supportive and uplifting way that might help someone else. Because right now I think it's just very deep, fresh, raw, and new after Deneen just tried it on yesterday. So I think I'm just sitting in disappointment at this time. And that's what you're receiving. That's what you're getting. We do have enough fabric to primarily, I think for sure what I have left is enough to make the top part of this blazer, possibly some pieces of the bottom, but I don't want to cut it too close. The rest of the fabric that I have remaining for this is dedicated to the style 2274 we are making these shorts to go along with the blazer. That was the intention from the beginning. So as far as plans go, I do believe that I'm going to try my hand at making the style 2274 out of the main fashion fabric. We had previously done a toile of this and she felt good. We made some alterations as far as length is concerned, and we have a note about adding more depth, I guess, to the crotch curve, or like adding more allowance there. So that's you know, two different things that we're going to do. This skirt this pair of shorts is cut on the bias, so I think in this drapier fabric it's going to hang really well. So I'm excited to work on this, but I do believe that this is going to be what I try and work on next, and I hope to have a good result from that. In addition, while the pattern is being printed and we're figuring out sizing, but I think we're going to do a size 14 for the blazer. But as we're getting that together, I think I might go ahead and try and make myself S9556. This is a nursing top with some pants as well. And again, like I mentioned, I'm less than a month away from my due date, so I do want to start getting like my hospital bag together and get the things organized that I might need. And I would love to have nursing friendly pajamas that I can wear after baby arrives, inshallah. So I am going to focus my attention on making something cozy for myself. I haven't done any sewing for myself into 2024 actually, so this will be nice to just pivot and try and see what I have in my stash that makes me feel really warm and cozy, and just devote some time to like making something for myself for a big event that's about to happen. And making myself feel really good. I think I have some nursing friendly like short sleeve pajamas that my best friend actually got me for my first child, and I still wear those pajamas, but they're bobbly, they're worn, and it's short sleeve, so I would want something long sleeve if I'm gonna be in the hospital with like guests coming in and visitors and stuff like that. So I want to make myself a set, so I think I might try and work on this. It's jersey, you know. I'm hoping that I can do a good job at this. So that is in the plans, and that's about it. Once we have the pattern and all of that, I think we'll, like, my best friend has been really good about coming over, and she's been supportive, and like she block fused and did all the interfacing for when we did this original version. So we'll have some days where like we'll be together, we'll do all of those things like the block fusing of interfacing, the cutting out and all of that, just so it's not feeling as tedious. But I will say with the Estella dress, one thing that I learned after doing the toile of it was the ease that I had in actually constructing it, because it was a little bit of muscle memory had been gained. And for this particular one, there were so many moments where I'm like rewatching the video, rereading the instruction. What is that? Like every single step took so much longer because I wanted to get it right. Like pivoting between the notches, which dots am I sewing between, like how is that gonna alter whatever. It's still, I think, gonna be a lengthy process, but I think I'm gonna go into it with a lot more knowledge, having done the toile like fully right, like I did it with the lining, so all of it I kind of understand what I'm supposed to do. And I might be able to make some amendments and sort of follow some construction, like change the construction order to support me in completing this garment to the best of my abilities. So whether that's testing out, could I attach the sleeves before I attach the top of the blazer to the bottom, so I can use this sort of access point to turn everything through? Like, would that work? And if it does, then that would stop me from having to hand stitch the sleeve lining at the very end. You know, figuring out, do I want to follow the pattern's instruction on how to finish off the bottom, even though it looked really convoluted. Like the reason why I went to the video is because I was like, what you want me to do? I don't understand. But yeah, the video doesn't show you how to finish off the bottom. So figuring out, can I slow down enough, reread those instructions to figure out how this was supposed to be finished, or just watch a different blazer tutorial pattern and see how they finish off, you know, blazer's bottom, blazer hem with the lining, and use that to sort of figure out how I want to close off the bottom. I just feel like we're in for a better experience, I hope, doing it the second time around. So if you needed motivation to do that toile that you are reluctant to do, that you are second guessing whether it's necessary or worth it, I hope that my experience, regardless of what it is that you're making, stands as the motivation to go ahead and make the quick and dirty toile. You don't have to put the lining in, my friend. Just cut out the main fashion pieces, the pieces that you feel like are in the areas that you have most concerns with. Maybe it's the bodice for you. Maybe it's the hips and something fitting your waist and your hip. Whatever it is, go ahead and do the toile, my friend. It's worth it. You think it's going to take more time, but it's worth it. If you have stayed till the end and made your way through my highs and lows, my feathers and woes, I so appreciate you. And I don't know how frequent videos will be moving forward right now, just based on how life is happening. But whenever I can pop on, I'll do my best to do so, to update you on what's happening here. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, because I'll be a little bit scant possibly in the next couple of months with videos. It would be nice if you subscribed, and that way when I do post something you will know and you can get those updates from me, because otherwise it might be a little bit harder for the algorithm, because they'll be like, this girl is not posting consistently, so you don't need to hear from her. But if you do want to hear from me, go ahead, like and subscribe. I'm here and feeling like health-wise, feeling good. Sewing-wise, needing a boost. Energy-wise, sending and receiving lots of positivity. Love you. Talk to you soon. Stay creative, folks. Bye-bye.